Good, happy Thursday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday evening, so let's begin. First up, Sununu unveils plans for workplace fairness, vets suicide, long-term care, and state of state address. Governor's sweeping address focuses on policy, calls for bipartisan approach to key state challenges. If you want to watch that full address, we will share a link with you after the broadcast. Investigators of Henniker shooting focus on party attendees from out of town. 3 injured in shooting near New England College. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Mike, the county attorney says there were some 60 people at that house party and that the shooting happened about 3 a.m. on Sunday morning on Bridge Street in Henniker. Now, the county attorney goes on to say the shots were fired inside the apartment and 3 people were struck, and that the shots were after some sort of verbal altercation. Now, the 3 people who were struck were taken to the hospital where they were treated and released. The county attorney says the people at the party included students from New England College, along with others from out of town and out of state. Now, officials are still looking into what exactly led up to the shooting. As for the involvement, if any, of the victims,
what I can tell you is that they were not targeted. We do not believe the discharge was intended to harm the 3 individuals that were injured.
the county attorney says they are getting cooperation, but they're still looking for some people who may now be out of state. And if you have any information, you're being asked to get in touch with police. Reporting live in Concord, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. Funeral arrangements set for Hudson Airman killed in Afghanistan. Captain Ryan Fanuff killed in plane crash. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
The funeral for an Air Force captain from Hudson will be held at the end of the month. Captain Ryan Fanuff was killed when his plane crashed in Afghanistan last month. Calling hours are now set for February 28th at St. Catherine Parish in Hudson. A funeral mass will be held on February 29th.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire primary source. Top state Democrats defend New Hampshire primary after DNC chair raises diversity question. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
The New Hampshire Department of Corrections has immediate openings for corrections officers. Apply today.
After the Iowa debacle, complaints over debates excluding diverse candidates, and the field still standing after the New Hampshire primary, the DNC chair says it's time to reevaluate again.
Our party is incredibly diverse, and what should the order of our primary cycle be? I think the time is ripe for that conversation.
New Hampshire Democratic National Committee woman Kathy Sullivan calls discussion on the 2024 schedule very premature and a distraction, telling News 9, frankly, Chairman Perez should be promoting our great candidates and focusing on defeating Donald Trump. New Hampshire Democratic Party Chair Ray Buckley adds, while we've routinely had conversations at the DNC about this issue, we have successfully defended the primary for 60 years and will continue to do so. Michael Bloomberg's announcement that he is now hiring staff to campaign for president in New Hampshire after not participating in the primary leads to another question. If he wins the nomination, is that a threat to the necessity of the New Hampshire primary?
It could be construed that way. So if the chairman of the DNC has any question about the dedication of the New Hampshire Democratic voters to the primary, he need only look at the turnout yesterday, which set a record.
And keep in mind, New Hampshire state law mandates it remains the first primary in the nation, though if it jumps the calendar, the parties could choose not to recognize the results. Monica.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Gardner praises incredible primary turnout. 457K votes cast. 300K Democrats, 156K Republican ballots cast. Several records set for year in which incumbent was running for re-election. SUV drives into utility pole on Clinton Street in Concord. Concord police and fire and rescue teams were busy Wednesday night after an SUV drove into a utility pole near South Fruit Street. Take a look at this photo right here. As you can see in this photo, the utility pole is hanging halfway and the SUV crashed into the utility pole on Clinton Street. Concord fire and rescue teams and police were sent to Clinton Street Wednesday after an SUV drove into a utility pole near South Fruit and Cornell Street. Concord fire and rescue teams came upon the crash after clearing a medical call at the McKinnon House around the corner around 9:45 p.m. Firefighters told dispatch they needed utility workers to come to the scene as well as police to deal with the traffic. 2 minutes later, dispatch told firefighters in the field utility and police were on their way, and that Concord District Court also had an alarm activation due to the power outage. Firefighters also informed dispatch that Clinton Street would be closed for quite a while. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. There we go. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties there. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. And Dow drops more than 100 points, slips away from record high as reported coronavirus cases jump. Stocks fell on Thursday, slipping from record highs as investors grappled with a jump in reported coronavirus cases and the virus' possible economic impact. China reports nearly 15,000 new cases of coronavirus, ABC News. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
The latest on the coronavirus emergency. Overnight, a new case was confirmed in the U.S., bringing the total here to 14. More than 15,000 new cases in China and worldwide. The number of cases now tops 60,000.
And this as the situation grows more desperate on that quarantine cruise ship in Japan. More Americans coming down with the virus on board. Maggie Rulli is there where that ship is docked. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Robin. Yeah, right now, as of today, there are more than 200 people with the virus on board this cruise ship. And in just the last few hours, we've learned that 2 more people here in Japan have tested positive for COVID-19, including a taxi driver. Overnight, a surge in new cases of the potentially deadly COVID-19. China reporting nearly 15,000 more patients have been diagnosed, bringing the total to more than 60,000. The death toll now reaching 1,369. The new numbers coming after China started using a new way to check for the virus. Meanwhile, the world's still watching that Diamond Princess cruise ship that's been docked in Japan now for more than a week. Yesterday, health officials announced 44 more cases of the new coronavirus on the ship, bringing the total number infected to more than 200. The emotional strain also seems to be spreading.
Every day is just waiting to hear more bad news. That's ultimately what it feels like, that you're just waiting on the ship of doom.
Melanie and John Herring have been taking their own temperatures, but John now has had 2 days of back-to-back fevers.
We're just trying to keep his fever down. He gets it down for a while, and then it goes back up.
John has now been sent to a local hospital where he's staying in isolation, but he still has not yet been tested for the virus, and they don't know why.
I would rather be back on the cruise ship.
Today, perhaps a little relief for some on board. Officials announcing that starting Friday, Japan will allow high-risk passengers off the boat to continue their quarantine at a facility on land. Across much of Asia, protective gear is nearly impossible to find. In Hong Kong, someone's smashing this car's window to get to the face masks inside. Amid the confusion and mounting fear, there are a growing number of reports around the world of Asians being shunned or targeted due to fear of the new coronavirus.
If another person coughs, people don't pay attention to it. But if an Asian person coughs, people move away, people shun you.
Jung says his friend was recently threatened on a public bus.
They said, if you sneeze at me, I'll kill you. They said this to someone on the bus.
This college student says she was also targeted. She says when she sat down at a communal study table already occupied by 5 other students, she sensed something was wrong.
They started whispering, started looking at me, and within like 3 to 5 minutes, they quickly gathered their stuff and left.
The CDC is now saying that the spread of this virus from person to person is now likely to happen in the U.S. or elsewhere. And guys, this is a major concern for doctors back in America. Michael?
Major indeed. Thank you so much.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. They'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.